I know that you're thinking, Sly, how can you say marriage isn't hard? But stay with me because marriage isn't hard. It's just unhealed. And the difficulty that you're feeling, it isn't actually your partner. It's the third person in the room that nobody invited. Not an affair. Don't come for me. It's not the in-laws, but it's your unregulated nervous systems. Because you didn't just marry a person, you married a coping style. And today I'm showing you exactly how to stop fighting the thing and start healing the source. Because my background is I'm a registered nurse. I work in pediatrics, and I have watched what stress does to bodies for decades. I have. And I can say that I've lived long-term partnership long enough to know. And what I know is that most couples aren't fighting about the thing. They're actually just fighting about safety. Let me ask you something, and be honest with yourself. Have you ever had an argument that logically made no sense whatsoever later? Like you were not even mad, and you were not even mad about the topic anymore, but somehow your body was still buzzing. Like your chest was tight, your jaw was locked, and you are replaying the tone just to be able to breathe again. That is not drama, girl. That is not. That's physiology. And my experience has been, especially with reading Dr. Terry Real's work, Dr. Terry Real talks about how couples aren't just talking from the present. They're actually talking from their history. And it's interesting because for us HSPs, we feel history in the body before even we form words. Isn't that interesting? So I'm going to just talk to you through some of the lessons that I've learned. And I'll start with lesson number one, the threat signal. And also, they tie in together a little bit, the threat signal and the let's stay there. Let me not get ahead of myself. And so I don't lose my train of thoughts as I'm getting used to being on screen and talking publicly and sharing with you guys. So what I'm noticing is that, or actually, just over the years, when conflict happens in your house, where does your body go first? Is it the tight chest? Do you feel a lump in your throat? Or do you just disappear altogether? Right? Because the argument doesn't start with the sentence. I'm finding that for me, the argument starts with the sensation. Let's say, for instance, like my husband and I are going on 15 years of marriage this year, but we've known each other since fifth grade back in Kenya. So, yeah, that's a long time, right? I'm aging myself here. But we were 10 years old when back then in, fifth grade. So he's seen me through pigtails, the awkward teenage years, and even though they weren't like consistently, it's also that he's also seen me through my struggling years. But I think by now we've actually kind of, you would think we've kind of figured it out. But even after 25 years of knowing his heart, my nervous system can still misread, let's say, for instance, his tired face as a threat signal. And for instance, like if he's quiet after a long day of logistics, running our logistics company, my HSP brain doesn't think, oh, he's just tired. It thinks, is he mad? Did I do something? Is this sanctuary under attack? That's the threat signal. And you're not reacting to your partner's words. You're reacting to what your body thinks those words mean or what that silence means. So for us HSPs, for us, the tone feels like rejection, a long pause, right? And that can feel like punishment. And that takes me to my lesson that I've learned, lesson two that I've learned is that I call it, or I like to call it, the math of fire drills. I'll give you an example, right? So most communication problems, what I'm learning is, are actually just mostly timing problems. I don't know if you've noticed that for you in your marriage or your relationship. It's this is how I look at it, right? And I look at it very simply because my HSP nervous system can get overwhelmed. It's two dysregulated people trying to talk it out. And it's like trying to do long division during a fire drill, right? That would be awkward. That would be hard to even do. So it's impossible. So for me, what I've learned in my marriage is that I've had to learn that it isn't maturity to push through a fight, especially when my heart is racing at 110 beats per minute. Because what that is, that's survival. And we tend to do that as HSPs. So now what I usually ask myself is, Sly, are you trying to resolve this or are you just trying to survive? If it's survival, we stop, we regulate. Then we come back when the fire is out. That's lesson number two. Takes me to lesson number three, which would be, I'd like to call it the emotional nurse. And stay with me, I'll explain that. So I call it the emotional nurse because I've found that it's a trap. And I'll tell you why. Because being a nurse, I'm I've been a nurse for 30 years in the medical field. My hands are literally trained to stabilize people. But what I'm learning is that in marriage, some of us were not chosen just for love. We became the translator. We became the peacemaker. And we became the one that smooths everything over. And that works until it doesn't. So, because being needed is not the same thing as being known. Let that sink in. And a healthy partnership isn't conflict free, it's repair rich. And repair isn't just dropping it and pretending it didn't happen. No, this is how I look at it. It's having the courage to say to your partner, to your person, hey, I got scared there. My 10-year-old self felt unsafe at that moment. And that helps a lot when I do that. And that also brings me now to the main villain, self-abandonment. If you override your own needs all week to keep the peace, you will explode on the weekend. I guarantee you. Yep, you are going to explode over the weekend. And I'm finding that it's not because as an HSP you're being difficult. It's because your body is tired of negotiating for safety in its own home. Yeah, your body's tired of negotiating for safety in its own home. And your nervous system doesn't leave the relationship at the door. Yeah, no, it doesn't. It really doesn't. Because I'm finding that that younger version of you, the one who learned how to stay quiet, to stay safe, he or she still shows up. So my takeaway for you as I'm sharing this with you is notice the body before the conversation. And for me, I've been practicing this and it has changed. Oh my God, it's been like a aha moment. It has changed the atmosphere of my home. And if you feel that this gave you language for that tightness that you've been feeling, I want you to tell me in the comments because I want us to normalize being repair rich instead of conflict avoidant, right? I like that. I like that. And yes, I want us to normalize that being repair rich instead of being conflict avoidant. So, and if you realize today that you've been acting like an emotional nurse in your marriage, in your relationship, you're likely treating your own life like a 24-hour clinic and you're exhausted because you're always on call. Which brings me to, and I want you to really bring this to your forefront, to your attention when you in your communication, in your relationship. And this will, me sharing this will bridge the what I want you to what I'd like you to watch next because if you're realizing that, like I mentioned, that you're the emotional nurse in your relationship and treating your own life like a 24-hour clinic, you're exhausted because of always being a call. I want you to go watch my video where I talked about your nervous system is not an emergency room because it's time to stop triaging everyone else's crises and start coming home to yourself. And I hope this, me sharing this, is going to help you with your relationship and look at it differently when you're having conflict. And because for me, this is what's working for me, and I thought I'd share this with you. And think about that. Think about that, and come back tomorrow. I have more to share, and I want you to always remember that. Don't be so hard on yourself. Just always give yourself time to be patient with this stuff. As HSPs, we do need that. Give our emotional. I mean, not our emotional. I'm getting my words here, but give our nervous system time to get rewired. So don't be too hard on yourself. You're doing better than you think. And thank you for being here. Thank you for letting me share my story. And I hope what I'm sharing is going to help you.